All right, we are live. It's the first show of the year for the live first look. I brought my co-host from the Sharpen Point in, Brian Pellerin, and
Hello.
he's gonna help me out here with navigating this triumphant first stream, and we'll get you some information on these initial slates. So let's start this thing off with single entry. Got to play that. Brian's favorite, the little coffin corner.
Especially a first weekend single entry uh, solo game slate. I think the early season seems to be more fun because I feel like if you're listening to this show, you're following with Chris's information, especially if you're following the right beat writers, the right people around these teams in this standalone slate window. These are ones that are not, I don't want to say terribly hard to win, but I feel like we've been playing them for maybe 3 or 4 years now, and I think I've won one and been top 5 in the other 2 years.
Yeah, these early season you can eat pretty well. Now, does it bother you that Iowa State's playing Kansas State in Ireland in a conference game that has massive implications on a playoff berth potentially?
A little, but I'd rather start this way than I forget what they gave us last year, but I feel like I remember last year being absolutely nothing.
Notre Dame Navy, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Or no, it was not. That was 2 years ago. Florida State, Georgia Tech.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was the that was actually a lot of fun
Tech.
because the first DJU drive, everyone was like, "Oh my god, Florida State's going to score 1 billion points this year," and then I don't think they ever scored again.
Yeah, all hope was lost after that. So looking at this first game, if you watch the channel, we broke down Iowa State. Y'all know my affection for Rocco Becht. I would love to say
you don't know by now. You will soon.
You will eventually. Looking at these pricing, Rocco and Avery Johnson, top of the bill, as they should be. Each is somewhat mobile. That's interesting. I think you can play them in captain, but they're going to be featured a lot as utility guys to me, specifically Avery Johnson. But I would say Rocco would be a guy that I'm definitely going to throw in there because that offense is going to run through Rocco. And he's got some mobility. He has a 99-yard rushing game in his past. Jace Brown right here, that's going to be a solid play for Kansas State as their number 1 wide receiver. Chase Soule, that's my top wideout to break out for Iowa State. He's a big-bodied guy, very similar to Xavier Hutchinson in that large body mold. Jaden Higgins from last year, thank him. And looking down here, Carson Hansen, I just don't love these Iowa State running backs, but he's going to have to feature some as a goal line short yardage guy. Edwards is definitely in play. Edwards is definitely a captain potential guy for Kansas State. But if I'm building this single entry, I'm looking for one specific man. It's Joe Jackson. So Joe Jackson right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know about Joe Jackson?
It's funny because I pulled up the depth charts earlier, was looking through them, and I said, if I'm looking at captain, I feel like the place I want to go is going to be a K-State running back. I pulled up the list, and I was like, man, he's going to love Joe Jackson.
Yep. So Joe Jackson, he was the backup for Giddens. So we lost DJ Giddens. This is where you're going to find your value early portion of the season. I love him in this captain role. It's going to let me just destroy these utility spots with all the guys that are at the top. Xavier Townsend is going to be your number 2, replacing Jalen Knoll. And then, Dylan Edwards is a good player, but he is slight of frame. He's in the, I comped him to Darren Sproles. He's very Darren Sproles-y. And we've seen him be good, but they're talking about a 50-50 split in the last article I looked at with Joe Jackson. So at 1,800 and getting him at 2,700 at 1.5 points, I'm probably giving up some. And I would definitely play with builds where you take Rocco, take whoever as your captain, and then throw Jackson as a flex. But in this situation, let's just say we're going Soule. We like him. Let's say Townsend. Another guy you can look at, Abu Sama. He just was such a letdown, but he dominated Farmageddon in the snow a couple years ago. Never going to forget that. Kramer, meh. Who's that tight end? Where you got the tight end up for Medford could be in play. Is it Gabe Burkle?
Yeah,
I'm
Gabe
fairly certain.
Burkle.
Yeah, Burkle could be good. Like, there's gonna be some tight ends that you're gonna be able to slap in here. Don't forget your kickers; they might be able to put up some points. But in this situation, I mean, we're taking Jace Brown for sure. And here's where you just slap your last guy in. Let's just say we're gonna go kicker or something. But yeah, let's just say we go Iowa State kicker in this situation. So that's something similar of something I would build out the gate with Joe Jackson. You can obviously go Joe Jackson in the base and figure that out as well. But Joe Jackson's going to need to be in your lineups. He's going to figure heavily early on there. So let's move into. You have any thoughts on the G5 or anything?
Well, you mentioned Jace Brown. I'm looking for. Is he up near the top here? Where am I at? There, yeah. Okay,
90. Yeah, he's up there at the top.
Totally,
yeah,
totally missed.
I think he's overpriced. He's 100% overpriced. But it's one of those situations where I think you're going to have a hard time passing on him. He's going to have to be in play. Like, he's their top outside weapon. And we've seen spike games from him. He could be a captain potential guy who gets there. But, with Avery Johnson's legs, he's going to play there. Ben Bramer's the other tight end for Iowa State. So that makes it interesting. There's just a lot of solid plays on that side of the ball there. Looking at the defense, second level, the linebackers for Iowa State are going to be really good this year now, and then the secondary was pretty solid too. So I think you're gonna run the ball on them a little bit, but that's where it's going to kind of be the stopping point there. So,
well, I think two things that are probably going to be helpful is you're talking about teams that are going to have to not only cross the country, but cross essentially the globe, right, to start the season. And like you mentioned, this right out of the gates being a big game, I could certainly see kicker making a difference in the early in this kind of a slate, especially with the defenses compacting down near the goal line. I feel like it could be. I don't want to ever recommend two kickers, but I mean, it certainly could work out that way. And my other thought would be don't fall in the trap of feeling like you need to spend all your money, especially on these early season slates. I think it was 2 years ago, the LSU Florida State game. That was the one we won. Brian Thomas Jr., who obviously now as the Jacksonville Jaguar star receiver, was, I mean, pennies on the dollar in that game. Him, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels, Keon Coleman, and Jordan Travis. I forget. I think we had the
Jaheim
Florida
Bell.
State
We had Jaheim Bell.
Jaheim Bell as well, the South Carolina transfer there at Florida State.
Keon Coleman. We had Keon Coleman too.
Yeah, I mean, I think between the group, Keon was a transfer, Jaheim was a transfer, BTJ was unknown, Malik was kind of unknown given how shaky the year before was for him as a punt returner. I don't think we came close to spending all the money with that lineup. But given the names and the talent that we rattled off, it made sense. So especially early in season, there's going to be pretty drastic misprices. So don't feel like you have to force every penny in there. Make sure you're considering role, talent, and that's where I'm talking about following the beat writers, being in the know on these teams. It makes a huge difference, and you could certainly find someone for pennies that make a difference, especially when no one's going to put in maybe the research on who the kicker is and see Simmering listed first here on the DK app, where the depth chart I'm looking at here has Rodriguez as the starter for K-State. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's an extra 1 or 2% of people who are just like, oh, just give me the K-State kicker. They picked the wrong name because he's listed second.
Yeah, and I think that's where, immediately I hadn't seen it, but as soon as I looked, Joe Jackson just stands out immediately as the glaring value of the slate.
Yeah, just extremely cheap. But you're talking about $2,700 for someone who could, I don't know if it's lead the backfield in touches, but lead in goal line touches, lead in the scoring touches that'll potentially matter if you're talking Edwards being a smaller guy. And then, that can be a world of difference when you're paying next to nothing for a captain who could be the boom of the game.
Yeah, he gets 2 goal line touchdowns and you're printing money, So looking at the Saturday 3-game late slate. I was hoping that we would get the other game in there, but FanDuel did that, not DraftKings. So let's look at this Fresno State, Kansas game. Jalen Daniels, 7,300. We'll see on that. I mean, he's healthy, but they're prohibitive favorites. EJ Warner is going to be your starter. Is he ever healthy? He's never healthy. EJ Warner is going to be your projected starter for Fresno. They're going to be playing from behind, but I don't particularly trust Fresno. Donaldson, I've heard he's going to be the starter. I would not play that whatsoever at 6K. Highshaw would be 100% in play. For me at 4,900, that is a dirt cheap price. I'm going to stick him there. And then LaShawn Williams, he used to play at Iowa. He's transferred from there. He's going to see some carries. Highshaw is best suited for that role to take over that Devin Neal spot. Good out of the backfield, catching passes as well, and they tend to use their guys like that. So he's going to be somebody that I would feature right out the gate, seeing that price tag. And we liked playing Devin Neal, so with him gone, that's going to be something to look for. And I've heard a ton of buzz about this kid, Henderson, Manuel Henderson. People are liking his over props. They were at 47.5. I want to say it dropped in. People really like that. He's getting a lot of camp buzz. So I think he's going to be a guy to look for if you want to pair up somebody with Daniels or just play him naked with Highshaw, because they're going to score a lot of points there with that team. So those would be the two standouts for me in that game. And then let's look at the quarterbacks for Sam Houston and Western Kentucky. Remember, Sam Houston, coaching change, Casey Keeler moving on to Temple. So they had a boatload of people gone. They do still return Hunter Watson. Hunter Watson had a heck of a year last year. But ultimately, look at these DK points in the 20s. That's a little more than 3X. I like that. Star of the show here is going to be Maverick McIver. So Maverick McIver, he's got a great name. We all love people named Maverick. He comes from Texas Tech originally. He was the backup to Bayron Morton, our buddy, longtime friend of the show. And he went to Abilene Christian, where they had run the open run and shoot, widespread leech system. And he moves back into this Western Kentucky system now that Caden Veltkamp's out. And he is going to put up numbers. He's Bailey Zappi reincarnate. I am going to play a ton of Maverick McIver. He's going to throw the ball all over the yard. So I'm going to be heavily invested there. Running backs, you can never trust the running backs for Western Kentucky. They don't play ton. George Hart, probably the lead dog to me. But we'll have to wait and see on that. I'll take a look, but I'm not going to really be playing those guys. Elijah Green's probably your lead guy for Sam Houston, considering Alton McCaskill we haven't been able to trust since he went to Houston and tore his knee up and went to Colorado, failed at Arizona State. So he's now landed at Sam Houston here. Shane Porter might be an interesting play. North Texas back from last year. That'd be an interesting guy. Wide receivers for Western Kentucky, way too cheap here. Katie Hutchinson, he's going to be the one who gets the most pub. Let me double check my Western Kentucky stuff just to make sure that I'm right.
I was certainly surprised by Maverick's price compared to the receiver's price. I mean, I get first game, you're maybe not sure who the guys that are going to be on the field are, but that's a lot of 5,000 options.
Yeah, it's going to be, where is Cody Epps? Hang on. I'm just going to search for him because I do not see. Where are the?
Yeah.
Maybe
that
he got
tends
kicked
to be
off
one
the
of those
team.
situations where you can't find
Oh, no.
Yeah,
that's
I don't see him on the depth chart.
Wow. Okay.
That's okay.
Well,
you keep talking. I'm gonna look it up. I'm on it.
Hey, Cody Epps was there, and he was my athletic version of Easton Messer when I did the team preview. Matthew Henry. So this kid.
Well, he's at BYU.
Oh, he used to be. Okay, well, never mind. I lost that one. That was bad preview then. Matthew Henry, though, he comes from Western Illinois, and he had a 1,200-yard, 6-touchdown season a year ago. I think he replaces Keyshawn Johnson on the outside, who had a big season a year ago. So I think this is our guy. Look at his last 2 games: 6 for 210 and 2, 7 for 183 and 1. He's probably my top wide receiver on the slate at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see there. Stanford,
I have an
Hawaii.
update on Cody Epps. I think you're going to want to hear. Yeah, so he posted on his Instagram in April after transferring from BYU to Western Kentucky, quote, "Yes, I've retired from football. I've put it down. I've enjoyed it. I've loved it. I'm so appreciative of BYU and Western Kentucky. However, I have finally looked in the mirror after a long time of thinking about it and finally said to myself, I want to discover who I am." So,
okay, well, he's going on another
go ahead
Mormon
and take
mission,
Cody Epps off your board.
Okay, well,
Yep.
I guess I did the preview before that then. So Stanford, Hawaii. Have you seen this mess at Stanford? It's just an absolute crap show. So Andrew Luck is the GM now. Yep, he's the general manager there. And then Frank Reich is now the head coach because their head coach got fired, Troy Taylor. And they had a mass exodus of talent that has just gone. They are now an underdog to Hawaii to open the season. And they should be. They opened as a favorite, but that got bet quickly. Other player you're going to want in your team, Micah Alejado, because Ben Gulbranson's going to be the starter for Stanford, and he stinks. He's the guy from Oregon State previously. I believe did you play him, or was that was the Giovanni McCoy you played for Oregon State last year and drove me insane. But he
I definitely did
Brown.
some Oklahoma State or Oregon State stuff that drove you nuts, and I won a slate. I remember it was like Thanksgiving week. I was at Disney.
Yeah, I think that was Giovanni McCoy. But yeah, Gulbranson.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking for a Stanford guy, I would lean towards Micah Ford. He's returning. He should be the bell cow running back at 4,500. That seems good because Hawaii's defense on the run game is going to struggle. They look pretty decent against the pass, actually. Don't trust any Hawaii running backs. They do not run the ball. They're terrible. The other Stanford back that you could consider would be Chris Davis Jr., who's coming in. Wide receiver-wise, they lost everything. Emmett Mosley went to Texas, and our buddy, he's with the Titans now. I don't believe that for a second. What is his name?
I'm sorry. What's
Alec
Ayamanor?
Yeah, Alec Ayamanor.
Yeah.
So Pofeli Ashlock, he had a really good freshman season. He's the top wideout. Him and Nick Sinakel. That's a double stack for me, clearly. And then you're just trying to find a $5,100 running back. You could run it back with Ford. There's your game stack for that Hawaii game late at. Well, I wish it was late at night, but 6:30 I'll take. So yeah, this would be like my base lineup. I mean, that's definitely going in. I don't think there's any chance I don't play this. So we're gonna throw that in. Let's go to FanDuel. Love FanDuel. So quarterback wise, let's see. I haven't looked at any of this, so that's why I'm interested here. Avery Johnson, Rocco, decent pricing on them. Let's see. Quarterbacks. I just want to run all the quarterbacks. EJ Warner's cheap. Jalen Daniels is more expensive than Rocco. That's ridiculous. Hunter Watson's cheaper. I mean, Maverick McIver for $10K. You got to love it. And then I already know the cheap one because I actually did peek a little bit. Look at this. Micah Alejado. 100% ownership is going to be on Alejado here. 8,800 is way too cheap. He's mobile. He had that 500-yard plus game. 460 passing, I want to say, against 460 passing. It was against New Mexico. Just absolutely toasted them. They stink, though. Running backs, let's see. Micah Ford, 6,200. That's a good price. Let's see if they missed anybody on this. George Hart, 5K. Elijah Green. Elijah Green at 8,200 is not a play whatsoever. I would not touch that. Was Highshaw. 87. That's more in play. 57 for LaShawn Williams if you want to take some shots there. For sure. What is Joe Jackson on this one? 56. I mean, 9,400 for Dylan Edwards, splitting the work with Joe Jackson. Just lock Joe Jackson, especially on here with a half-point PPR. That's a lock. I mean, you could just, there's 2 locks right there, and you can basically do whatever the heck you want at the rest of the spots. Jace Brown, Chase Soul at 75. That's nothing. 58 for Townsend. That's ridiculously cheap. Jace Brown, Cam Pickett, Josiah Freeman, Emmanuel Henderson at 50. I mean, this is a slate where you're going to leave a ton of money on the table here with these guys. You got 8K, Matthew Henry, KD Hutchinson's probably your 2 at this point. You're leaving money on the table. Ashlock and Sinakal, you're going to want to have at least one of them for sure. I mean, look at this. You could do anything you want on FanDuel. That is ridiculous. You could do that. You could go Dylan Edwards if you wanted to. But yeah, you're leaving money on the table on FanDuel. Period. End of story. Money's getting left on the table no matter what. So that's you could take this in there, play it, and be 4,300 under, and you can even go Dylan Edwards. I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. Look at that. You can play Dylan Edwards and every number 1 wideout, basically, and have no issues. So this is going to be a slate where you just are able to do whatever the heck you want on FanDuel and leave a ton of money on the table. So yeah, final thoughts, Brian.
Sorry, I just muted to sneeze, as all professionals do.
Our
chat's blowing up, man.
Yeah, it's trying to say that Terry McLaurin got traded. I don't know about this.
That would be news to me. I'll let you go ahead and look it up. Man, I think looking at next weekend, Farmageddon will be fun. I'm kind of excited with the 3 games clumped together on the DK slate that I don't really know anything about, right? I mean, it's 6 teams who probably won't factor into any national pictures. But there are teams with fun scoring offenses, right? I mean, even if you include this UNLV Idaho State game.
I wish that was on there, except for that one's interesting because UNLV right now, they have Dan Mullen and Anthony Calandria, our favorite whoopsie daisy king, is the quarterback, but Alex Orgy's there from Michigan, and it sounds like he's getting red zone packages. So I was kind of hoping that slate would be on there and that game would be there just for people to play Calandria and then Orgy steal all the goal line touchdowns.
Well, and I to me, I mean, it's a fun team, but I've seen the joke going around that it's the last chance you at this point, just at the higher level. And Kansas, Western Kentucky, Hawaii. I mean, there's a lot of fun offenses in each game, I think, which makes them all fun. And then you get the legitimate, ranked, important Big 12 game in K-State, Iowa State to really start the day. I think it's a fun first weekend, and we've had some kind of other ones. Looking at the week after, I'm obviously very excited about. I'm toying with the idea of going to that opener, that Boise State, South Florida, because I live here in Tampa. I just got to figure out how to get off of work and get there. But maybe a little ranked team coming to town to start the year. Why not?
You get Byron Brown. That would be fun. I mean, Byron Brown, healthy Byron Brown is a devastating Byron Brown.
Byron Brown is Brian's college football video game superstar from last year. So I am always on board with Byron Brown.
Oh yeah.
One thing I wanted to throw your way, and just we kicked around the idea of, I guess, an overall pod to look at like best players and the whole 9 yards. Here are a few things I'm just going to put on your radar. I don't want to talk very long about them, but my brother-in-law asked me this when they were my sister and family were visiting this past weekend. And he said, do you think Garrett Nussmeier is actually good? Now, again, I went to LSU, so, I mean, it was a question directed to me for that exact reason. But, I mean, my answer was like, well, yeah, I mean, there's room to grow, right? There's space to grow that's needed. But yeah, I mean, and things in terms of college football, I think if he puts up the same year he had last year and doesn't actually grow, he's still a good to great college football quarterback. Does that make him a great pro? Probably not, but there is plenty of room to grow to be better. Um, and I toyed with the question for like the last week as I've been thinking about it, kind of figuring out, well, then who actually is a good quarterback if Nussmeier isn't? And then I really don't have an answer on who I think then would be a good quarterback if you're willing to say that Garrett Nussmeier isn't. Because, I mean, I was trying to think of others, and I'm like, Klubnik, I still need to see more. Arch, I haven't seen really anything. I mean, Lenora Sellers obviously is a totally different style of quarterback, but I think it's probably the best in the country. Um, what the rest of that team looks like, I don't know. Drew Aller, I certainly need to see more to believe it. Carson Beck, I don't know. DJ Lagway. I mean, I was just kind of like, I don't really know who would you say is the best quarterback in college football?
It's between Klubnik and Nussmeier for me. But all the best quarterbacks, the best conference for quarterbacks is the Big 12. They're all the ones that return. So you get your, Avery Johnson, Bayron Morton, Sawyer Robertson, Josh Hoover, Rocco. It's a ton of talent in that Big 12. Jalen Daniels, Caden Salter. I mean, I don't believe in Salter, but he's there. So it's like that's your Sam Levitt didn't even get brought up until that point. Like that's how good that conference is from a quarterback standpoint. And I'm sure we're going to delve way into that Carson Beck stuff, and we're going to delve into DJ Lagway in the pod. So, but for me, it's definitely Klubnik and Nussmeier. I struggle, and I said it in the LSU preview I did. I struggle with Nussmeier from a decision-making standpoint. When he pelted that Baylor kid in between the numbers in the bowl game, it was a defensive end that he somehow didn't see this 310-pound behemoth standing in front of him. I can't get that out of my head. Honestly, I'm way too in on DeMond Williams right now. I like him way too much. The kid from Washington, his passing really impressed me. Specifically, if you look at the Oregon game, I know he was getting the crap beat out of him in that one, but he was efficient throwing the football. Jed Fish has had a ton of success with quarterbacks in his past. I think he's going to be a guy that's a riser throughout the season. You could really make an argument for Sam Levitt in that top 3 to 5 quarterbacks in the country, though.
Well, I see Sam Levitt right now as sixth best odds to win the Heisman, tied with Lenora Sellers and Carson Beck at plus 1,800 on DraftKings. If you were placing, I don't know, I'm gonna give you 2 chips, kind of on the board. You could put them both on one guy. You could pick 2 different guys, and I'll give you the last. Well, we got like 2 minutes or so here before we hit 30 minutes. So I don't really feel the need to go much longer unless we want to react to Philly Mike's fake news here. Just what I guess, where would you place your chips in terms of where this Heisman could go? Because I just feel like this whole season is totally wide open.
It is very wide open. Arch is a favorite for a reason. I have a Arch bet, but it's mainly a cover off my long shot bets. Cam Rising, I finally have a year that I can't place a bet on Cam Rising to win the Heisman. I got an early bet on Klubnik at a good number, way early. And if I'm throwing 2 shots, I want to get long odds because I think guys are going to fly up the board off the radar guys. I'm going to throw a shot on DeMond Williams. I believe last time when I placed the bet, he was at 40 or 50 to 1, but that was when I did the long shots, Heisman long shots. Good video, 5 long shots to win the Heisman. Jeremiah Love. You know what? I'm going to take him, and I want to go way off the board. Last time I checked, he was 400 to 1. I'm going to take a long shot on Blake Horvath, the Navy quarterback. I think they could be the contender to win the group of 5 spot. They return Heidenreich, return a lot of their team. And we've seen Keenan Reynolds get in the top 5 before. We've make it to New York. We saw Bryce Daly enter the conversation last year. And I think if Horvath can repeat that, it could be a season where we don't have a Travis Hunter, we don't have an Ashton Genty, unless it could be Jeremiah Love. That was also a guy that I highlighted in that video. I would say those are my three favorites. They were all highlighted in that video, though.
So it's a storytelling award, right? Like that's the whole thing with the Heisman. It's the storytelling award. We had the back-to-back of Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels with ridiculous stats. Last year, we had Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball at a great to elite level. I feel like we're due for the guy who wins, right? Because we've had now back-to-back teams who had a bunch of losses, but that's the best player, so we're going to give him the award. I feel like we're due for guy who wins. That's where I think Horvath could have an argument.
He has that Notre Dame game, and that's the one problem, right? But he did have that terrible Notre Dame game last year with the thumb injury. So it's one of those situations where if he's healthy for the entire year, he has a decent, good enough game against Notre Dame that he could be the guy that has just this monster number season. Somebody's going to have monster numbers. I mean, that's the DeMond Williams factor, but the schedule's tough. Very similar. Like Jeremiah Love is the Notre Dame guy. So that's the one that if he can get enough carries, but that backfield's so good, I just don't think he gets the carries to do it.
Two names that I think could fit the bill. Unfortunately, I mean, Drew Aller makes sense because of a conference that I think a team that's probably going to be better than everyone, but again, it's Penn State. So here we are with James Franklin as always. And I really don't mind Hayes King if you're into Georgia Tech.
Dude, so nobody's been talking about him. He gets disrespected more. He's my most disrespected quarterback in the country. He had 2 interceptions last year. He has double-digit rushing touchdowns each of the last 2 years. They should be a contender for the ACC title. I think the schedule's a little tough for him, but if he's healthy, remember they're replacing Eric Singleton. They had to replace Singleton. We thought Rutherford was going to go too, but they replaced him with both kids from FIU, the wide receiver core. That was Keon Jenkins. I mean, they were lighting it up. I loved that team last year. Eric Rivers is going to be the top guy to me. I think he steps right in, dominates. They got the second leading kid as well. I think that team is a team to watch. They're going to play well. I think they're a dark horse to make the playoff. They're a dark horse to be in the ACC title game. I think Louisville's very good. So that's where I say dark horse. I think Miami's going to be unranked. Video coming soon on that. I don't think Miami finishes the year ranked at all. They're in the top 10 for no reason. I think Miami's terrible. They have no wide receivers. JoJo Trader was going to be the number 1. He's now banged up. He hadn't practiced in a couple weeks. Carson Beck, who knows what the heck's going to happen to him. We've only seen him be good with Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, 2 guys that were 1,000-yard receivers in their first seasons. Yeah, in their rookie years. So, like, once you take those guys away, he was nothing. So I know they led the country in drops, but at the same time, I just don't trust Carson Beck. I think Mario Cristobal, not a very good game coach. I think Miami's just not good. I'm going to bet against Miami a lot early in the season. I'm still waiting for somebody to talk me off the ledge of betting the house on Notre Dame -2.5 against Miami.
I'm not going to do it, but I to go back where I was, I do think Georgia Tech makes sense in terms of Haynes King as a team. You know, we look up and they let's say they beat Georgia in that rivalry weekend game. They go on, they win the ACC title. The story is right there. I mean, they should have beaten them last year. They had them on the ropes 14 different times. It felt like that's a punchy Georgia Tech team, and I think Haynes King at 90-1 is a fun one.
That's a phenomenal bet. I mean, absolutely phenomenal bet. I think that's the guy. So we will see you guys when we do. I'll see y'all this week. Brian will probably be back. He's going to make some periodic appearances. I'm going to help him build lineups. He's my protege when it comes to this stuff. And I
get to just be the dumb guy asking questions who trips into wins.
Yeah. Yep. So we're gonna help him win money, and I'm gonna keep winning. So we'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Did Terry McLaurin? No.